And we are back. Brian Brothers. Shouts out to you, sir. Voch Lombardi. Y'all know who I am. Y'all, they should know who we are, Brian. We got.
I would hope so. I mean, you're like a famous dude. I'm just kind of like the lounge act. It's kind of, when they play the big room in Vegas.
Yeah.
Like, welcome to the Sands Motel. And it's and they play the big band music. And then Frank Sinatra steps out. That's kind of you. And I'm kind of like Dean Martin and Joey Bishop and maybe
Tony
Sammy
Bennett.
Davis,
Tony
Bennett. I'm just kind of I'm the guy. I'm like, I got a drink in my hand. I got a cigarette. I'm just kind of like, I'm along for the vibe. But no, it's great to be with you, my friend, as always. Can I, right off the jump?
Yeah.
Right off the jump, I want to try and ruin your night with a question.
Never. This
is a question, and if you've been on all the platforms with me today, thank you very much. This question started at DallasCowboys.com on the break, and now it's going to end tonight with We're Doing All Right podcast, which is an award-winning podcast for sure. This thing's going to win awards. There's no question about it. People are just clamoring for this stuff. People want to put you and I together. It's just amazing that people want to just put you and I together and just say, hey, you two go do some work. You do some work. But here we go.
We're doing it. Here we go, bro.
Here we go. Voch.
Oh, boy.
If you could ask Jerry Jones or Mike McCarthy one question and get an in-depth, honest answer, what would that question be?
And Mike McCarthy or Mike McCarthy?
Either one. You can ask Jerry Jones, or you can take them both. You can ask Mike McCarthy one question, and you're going to get an in-depth, honest, truthful answer. No BS. But the question you ask him would be what? And you could do it one for Jerry. And if you want to throw Steven in there, you could do that too. But you got a couple of options. And you get to answer a question that is going to be truthfully answered. In depth.
I would love to ask Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and Adam Pacifica, when they see Howie Roseman and the moves that he makes to try to make his team better. The Eagles maybe don't draft as well as the Cowboys.
Right.
But they do give their team every opportunity to get better. They leave no stone unturned. I would love to ask Jerry, Adam, Stephen, what's stopping you in your team building philosophy, right? First, I would ask, what's your team building philosophy? And then off that, I would go, okay, well, what's stopping you from emulating what this general manager does? And he's been to 2 Super Bowls with 2 quarterbacks. Look, Jalen Hurts, I mean, he gets rollover respect, but I don't think he's like up there. So they've been to 2 Super Bowls with Jalen Hurts and Nick Foles. Jerry, I would love to know, when you look at Howie Roseman, when you get these beeps on your phone and you look at all the moves Howie Roseman makes, we all got the same salary cap. I would love to know, off your philosophy, what do you think you can do to emulate that? Do you try to emulate that? Yeah. Then he'll say, no, Voch, I don't emulate that. And I would go, why don't you emulate that? Because I think that aggressive team building gives your team the best chance to win. Now, it may not always work for the Eagles because, like I said, they draft funny. But if you can somehow marry the Cowboys draft and take that thing that Will McClay and all his guys do, right? And you can marry that with Howie Roseman aggressive free agent trade stuff. You may have less picks, but we don't hit on second round picks like that. No way, Brian. We hit on 4th and 5th more than we hit on seconds. I would love to know, Jerry, why don't you try to marry those 2 styles to try to make this thing work for your your football team?
What answer do you think he would give you?
Well, Voch, pie. He'll go pie, Brian Bros. He'll try to tell us.
No, it's an excellent question. What would you ask Mike McCarthy? What would you ask Mike McCarthy about to try and get a in-depth, honest, truthful answer that he has to give you?
Before I move on to Mike McCarthy, Brian, let me just say this.
Oh, you're gonna hit Stephen Jones one too?
No. Just me talking to Jerry, right? If I can, and this would be another branch for your question, right? If I had to see Jerry's side of things, right? Can I? me trying to sympathize with Jerry, I'm going, all right, well, maybe he feels like if he gambles and roll the dice like Howie Roseman does, right? Like he really gambles it all on everything. Maybe he feels like if he doesn't reach the promised land, his team would just crumble, right? You said this before. As long as Will McClay is around and Dak is on the team, they can kind of compete every year. So there's this conservative team building that they do that keeps them from being like a bottom of the league type team or whatever, right? So trading picks to go get Saquon Barkley or whatever, like maybe that's their way of saying, hey, if we do that, we may be really good for a little bit, but we'll be bad for a long time. You know what I'm saying? But the Rams was only bad for like 1 year, and they just they moved on. Now to your head coach, right, Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, I know you watch film on other teams because all the good teams do.
They all do.
And Brian brought us. I'd be shit shocked if Mike McCarthy said, "Well, we don't watch film.
we don't steal. We don't watch film.
We have no clue what they're doing over there in Detroit. We don't know."
That would be a good, honest answer. Like, hey, we really don't care about what other teams do.
Brian, I wouldn't even be mad if he said that. I wouldn't even be mad. Yeah. But Brian, Coach Mike McCarthy, man, how about this? When we lose in the playoffs, you get an opportunity to see Detroit and San Francisco and they and Philly and all those fantastic offenses while we at home during the playoffs. Yeah. What's stopping you from mirroring some of that?
Okay.
Like, for example, we run the West Coast offense, Brian. Mm-hmm. Technically, Kyle Shanahan does too.
Yeah, technically.
Technically, Mike McDaniels does too.
Technically.
The whole Shanahan trio got Clint Kubiak running the damn West Coast offense too. Yeah. They just run a very modern version of it. So I would ask Mike McCarthy, Voch says this, I would ask Mike McCarthy, and according to Brian's phrasing of this, I could be as rude as I want.
Oh, you can be as rude as you want.
I'd be like, Mike, is it that you don't want to steal? Or is it that when you're watching these other offenses, you don't understand what the hell you looking at, so there's no way you can incorporate it into what we doing? Because if I'm watching Bobby Slowick, Ben Johnson, Brian Broaddus, Jared Goff didn't miss a pass last night.
Yeah.
He was 18 for 18. He didn't miss a pass last night.
Yeah.
And mostly because a lot of this shit was wide open for him. It was wide open looks for him. Some tough stuff happened, but he had easy buttons he can go to make him go 18 and 18.
Right.
Brian Broaddus, man, if Dak Prescott was the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, the Cowboys wouldn't win shit. Because the 49ers have 5 rings 5 years in a row. They'll break all the records, Brian Broaddus, if Dak was in that system. Mike, why can't we do what they do? That's what I would ask.
Yeah. How about this one? I asked Chris Arnold, who I work with, Hall of Fame legend.
Got you down?
Yeah, got you down. Chris Arnold, one of the nicest human beings in the world. And we were all kind of talking at the break, and I asked the same question of Chris. I just said, hey, Chris, you've been in this business a long time. If you could ask Jerry Jones one question and he has to be truthfully honest with you about it, what would you ask? Chris looked me dead in the eye and said, Jerry, would you ever consider firing Stephen Jones?
Damn. Hey. That's hard. That's tough. That's tough.
We all stopped. It was like we're all, we're in that room. You know how you sit in that broadcast room and we're all sitting there and
damn.
And we all had that. We all had that Alonzo Mourning meme look, where he's sitting on the bench and we all kind of go, yeah, we all. You've seen it. Where everybody kind of goes. We're all looking at each other like
that's tough.
Chris is one of the nicest human beings in the world. I mean, nicest guy in the world. And he goes, Jerry, would you consider firing Stephen Jones?
Wow.
and I didn't even know what to say. I'm like, we're all kind of looking at each other like, yeah, well, maybe Chris is on to something here. Maybe Chris is on to something. But anyway.
But Brian, that is a fantastic question to ask Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
Because now you get into Jerry Jones's like philosophy or whatever, right? Now you get into, okay, well, let's just say Stephen Jones was doing the worst possible job. Would you even think about firing him? You know what I'm saying? Because he's your boy, and Charlotte. And look, one day Charlotte and Jerry Jr. going to be having something to do with this whole thing. That's their family.
They all do. It's a family run business. They really do. They all take a stake in it. They really do.
And I honestly think that if he wouldn't fire Stephen Jones, if Stephen Jones was the 32nd president of whatever his name is, COO, whatever, if he was truly 32nd, I don't think Jerry Jones would fire him. But with that information, that lets me know that regardless of how detrimental Jerry is to this team, he'll never step down. There's a hashtag going around, fire Jerry the GM.
Right, I've seen that. Yeah.
Jerry will never step down. No,
he won't step down. Voch, let me ask you this question.
Shouts out to Chris Arnold, man. That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, Chris is never, and I don't think Chris just was honest. I think he was thinking about every Cowboy fan that was ever, has ever been a fan. And Chris covered this team when it was a Super Bowl team. He covered Tom Landry. Chris and I are the same bottle of wine. Yeah. Age wise and stuff. And he's seen it all, man. He's seen it all. But I thought that was a really interesting question. And it would if you could get an honest answer, there's no him hawing around or any of that. God dang, that would be, he'd probably, I bet you Jerry would say, no, I wouldn't. And then the follow-up is why? Yeah, there you go. There you go, David Hellman would always, I would do something and he would give me, like he would be sitting on the bench, the McKinney Mutombo, like he'd be looking at, Alonzo Mourning, not McKinney Mutombo, Alonzo Mourning, hey, the kind of the, he give me that look.
That's fantastic. But please go ahead.
Okay, Voch, I need your answer for this one.
Yeah.
Other than Dak Prescott, I need this offensive player to be huge the next 2 weeks. Other than Dak Prescott, I need this offensive player to be huge the next 2 weeks.
I don't think Tyler Guyton has necessarily gotten you killed. Brian, Voch says this. Let me ask you something.
Okay, I like what you're doing here.
Voch says, do you think we run all these hitches and slants because we just can't hold the football too long because the offensive line to get us killed? Like, do you think that our offense would actually open up if we can get some solid blocking up front? Like, do you think that?
Okay, this is the problem I'm running into.
Sure.
That everybody likes to say, well, maybe Mike's nervous. And I've said it myself. And the more I think about it, the more I think about what an idiot I am for saying it. Mm-hmm. But you're thinking, well, maybe Mike's a little nervous at the tackle and the center, and he's maybe nervous. They're not nervous at all. They left that kid out there 90% of the time out there single blocking.
Yeah.
If they were nervous about him playing, they would have a tight end over there. They would have a back over there. They left that kid over there by himself. The guy they doubled was inside. They helped BB is what they did. But, Lawrence is a different beast. Yeah. But you know what? When you start to think about Dak Prescott, I mean, what do? They leave that kid out there by himself. Yeah. And they know damn good and well that they're going to get holding calls. They're going to get mistakes, but they're going to get some good play. I mean, it's not all doom and gloom for that kid. Mm-hmm. But they sure don't act like they're nervous about throwing the ball with him in the game like that because they don't help him. Yeah. The Giants game, he gets no damn help. And it's a struggle, man. It is a struggle.
Sure.
So there's a side of me that okay, I can't use that as a reasoning anymore. Mm-hmm. But please go ahead with your choice.
I would love it if my offensive tackles play a little bit better.
But that's where I was looking.
Yeah. Can my offensive line get a little? I feel like if my offensive line is a little better, then my run game will just naturally get better. I'm actually proud of what the Cowboys are doing with leaning into Rico Dowdle a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
I'm actually fine with Rico and Zeke's role or whatever. And Brian, I got a question for you. Let me write this down so I don't forget it. But if I had to, it'll either be Jake Ferguson or like one of my tackles, because I know we got TJ Watt coming up, we got Bosa coming up, and let me tell you something, Aiden Hutchinson,
that's the one I'm worrying about too.
Hutchinson's looking ridiculous out there, Brian Broader. So if it's me, I would say, and then the big problem is, which tackle do you want to be better?
See, that's where I went, and others were kind of like, people were saying, well, CD and this and that, you're thinking, I'm like, guys, man, the next 2 weeks, these edges aren't going to be fun for these guys. And it ain't just Guyton. It's Steele too that's in the situation.
Yeah.
He's if those two dudes somehow just miraculously hold up well, gives yourself a chance.
Yeah.
But if it turns into Hutchinson gets, Watt has 2.5 sacks, Hutchinson has 2.5 sacks, and you can't. I mean, but they sure in the hell don't act like they're scared the way they don't help that kid.
Sure.
Let me ask you one more question if I can here.
Yes, sir.
What's the biggest thing holding this team back?
I mean,
because we've talked about the general manager.
Yeah.
Talked about the head coach. We talked about some of the players. Is there something else that's holding this team back that we're not really focusing on?
On both sides of the ball, I don't think this team has an identity. I don't think we know. I don't think we know who this team.
Man, I hate the identity question though. I used to work Ari Timpkin. I used to work with Ari Timpkin in the pregame, post-game show. Mm-hmm. And Ari would say, Brian, what's the identity of this team?
Yeah.
Well, the identity, Ari, is it's a team that just got its ass kicked.
Yep.
That's the identity of this team.
Yeah.
They don't know how to win. Yeah. That's the identity. But yeah, I know the way you say it, and God bless you, Ari Timpkin, if you're listening, you're a great dude. But I understand what people would say that.
For example, Brian Broaders, if I go, all right, what's the Lions' identity, man?
Oh no, yeah.
Man, they gonna run Gibbs and Montgomery out there. They're gonna play action your ass. They're gonna hit some deep. Like
they're gonna be 18 for 18 throwing the ball.
That's what I mean. That's their identity. What's the Green Bay Packers? Okay, they're gonna run through Jordan Love and they're gonna throw the football. That's what they're gonna do. Baker Mayfield is gonna throw the football. You know what I'm saying? Like they have. We don't know what we are, Brian. We don't know what we are.
Yeah, no, that's the thing that bothers me, is the thing that's holding you back is you don't. I mean, we've talked about this a bunch on our shows, is that this offense just appears like they're just fighting for every yard. And I know you're going to fight in a game to get yards, but sometimes this stuff, some of these these coordinators make it look so damn easy moving the ball. Make it look so smooth and easy. And a lot of them have really good offensive lines. Detroit, they've done a good job. They've been a terrible team for a long time. They've hit on guys like Frank Ragnow, who didn't even play last night, but they've hit on Ragnow. They hit on, Penny Sewell was a top prospect. They've hit on guys. They've drafted running backs when everybody said, first round running backs, idiots, and now we're in admiration of, oh my gosh, who's this Laporta that they got it tied in? I'll give Mike McCarthy credit, because Todd Archer pre-draft, when Sam Laporta was drafted, Archer's like, Brian, they're talking about drafting this Iowa tight end Laporta. I go, get out of here. Over all these, over the Utah guy, the Oregon State. Oh yeah, they're talking about Laporta in the first round.
They'd have been right too.
They'd been damn right. They would have been damn right is what they would have been. But you're right about Detroit. I watched them in admiration, because you know what? Detroit reminds me of the old Pittsburgh Steelers teams, like even the Chuck Noll and then Bill Cowher teams. They beat you up. Yeah. They just beat you up the way the 49ers, I mean, for all the flash and dash and move, they beat you up in a game, and that's what I admire about some of these teams that have that ability to, and unfortunately for the Dolphins, they can't beat you up in the running game because they don't have a quarterback. They don't have the guy that makes all that work. But I admire those teams. I mean, the Saints beat you up. Now, the Saints have lost a couple of games. Hell, they had Philadelphia beat. They got beat on a long field goal. I mean, they could very well be undefeated in this thing.
Sure.
But, man, I admired, and I really do admire Detroit for how they play.
Yeah.
I really, really do. So you think the lack of identity, would you think that maybe the lack of toughness holds this team back?
I think that's a part of it. I think that, and listen, and this is why, look, Brian, we don't do nothing low hanging fruit over here, right? I say identity, right? You don't know who you are, because if you don't know who you are, you're constantly trying to figure out who you are. You know what I mean? Like, if you know who you are, you just build upon that and get better at that. Yeah. We can't get better at nothing because we don't know who the hell we are, Brian. We at least, like I said, Green Bay Packers, right? They're gonna throw the football all day. They're not trying to figure out the run game because they go, hey, look, the run game is gonna be what it is. We gonna throw the football. We gonna run through Jordan Love. We're up here going, hey, it's gonna take a couple weeks to figure the run game out. Yeah. You know, we'll throw the ball till then, but we got the right guys to do it. Man, you don't know what you do well. Yeah. You don't know what you do well. We run hitches and slants. That's our identity, Brian Brothers.
Yeah. I mean, Bobby and I were doing Love of the Star. Bobby was telling me the numbers about Dak throwing the ball down the field, 20-plus yard plays, and he didn't have any last week against the Giants, and it was like first time since 2018, in a game where they didn't throw the ball down the field that way. You're right, man. It's at times it's so depressing because you feel like that. Like I say, I watch those OTA practices, training camp practices every damn day. And I see things. I'm like,
last time visiting the Giants, right? Because we got to move on. Yeah, my bad. That's me opening up this film I did earlier, Brian. Go ahead. My bad.
But that's, you're right about the identity. I think the toughness aspect of it. I'm not saying they don't have tough players. Please don't clip this and say, oh, they're not tough. You've got some players that have toughness. It's just overall as a team, they might lack some of that when they're playing against some teams that have more than them.
Yeah.
I always thought that kind of a team that had bigger personnel when they played with fullbacks and tight ends and stuff.
Sure.
I think that's part of it. I think that's really part of it.
Brian, what I was looking at earlier, that's why I tried to pull my film up that I did earlier. What I noticed earlier, right? Like, if we had to pin like one trait that CeeDee Lamb has that he's really, really good at, is like the yak ability, right?
Right.
And what I just keep watching film, Brian, on this Giants game. One thing that just bothered me so much about CeeDee Lamb is not just that you're running slants, Brian, but what I realize is when you're running these hitches and all these slants, CeeDee can't move. He'll catch the hitch and they'll tackle him immediately, Brian. And I'm up here like, man, how do you get CeeDee Lamb moving? How do you get him going? And I do think they threw the ball deep to him one time, Brian. But besides that, he's just running upfield and he's stopping. I'm like, man, there's no way you're seriously trying to get CeeDee Lamb going, and that's your plan to do it. Okay, we're just gonna run him up, stop him, run him upfield, stop him, and they tackle him. And you go, okay, why is CeeDee Lamb's yak yardage so low or whatever? because his ass, there's nothing after the. All right, here we go. So Brian, like CeeDee Lamb's in the slot right here. He's gonna run upfield. And he's going to turn around. Boom, they tackle him. You can't get good yak out of that, Brian, bro. And the only reason I'm doing this because there's some people on the internet that think we're being hyperbolic. They think we're exaggerating, Brian. Nah, man. Back to back. CeeDee runs upfield. He turns around. CeeDee Lamb up top right here. He runs upfield even longer this time. 7 yards. Turn around, Brian, bro. Catch the ball. They tackle him. You can't get yak out of this, Brian. You can't get yak out of this. And I think having yak guys could be a good identity for you.
Yeah.
You got some decent yak dudes. Get Brandon Cooks on the move. Get CeeDee Lamb on the move. I think you got solid yak dudes, but you just won't do it.
Yeah. Bobby and I were talking about that. Did we feel like that maybe that Cooks was injured, because he doesn't look like the same player? And You know, and I reached out to a couple of people in the organization. The guy got back to me. He says, no, he's fine. He's good.
Wow.
You know, so, but you know, and Bobby thinks he's banged up, and you know, I thought, well, damn, I'll ask. You know, but why is it everywhere he's been, they get him the ball? Yeah. You know, everywhere he's been, it's a downfield threat. Get him the ball. I mean,
1,000-yard receiving years.
Yeah, right? You feel like that. You know, hey, let me ask you something here. Here's another question I had for you.
Please, Brian Bryce.
And Gavin Dawson and I got into this on 105.3 The Fan today on the G-Bag Nation, because Mike McCarthy was asked about the motion in the offense. And I took it as, when he was given his answer, that they look at the GPS numbers and their routes are downfield routes and all the running they do. Do you think he's worried about motion and wear and tear on his receivers? I know I know you're looking at me. Yeah. Okay. Here it comes. You know, exactly. I knew.
So I think, why would Mike McCarthy think that? He's a professional athlete. Why would he think they get time for running their motion?
He brought up GPS numbers.
Yeah.
He brought up GPS numbers.
Mm.
And Dawson was looking for, why would this team be 30th in the National Football League in motion? Pre-snap motion, snap motion. Why would they be 30? Look at the teams down there with them.
Yeah. It's
New England, Carolina, Cleveland. You know, there's some teams down there with them. But I asked Dawson, I go, it sounds like, and I could be totally off base with this. He always talks about the amount of running his guys do.
Mm-hmm.
Could motion be a lot of extra running for his guys? And please, folks, don't kill me on this thought. I'm going to read your comments at 5:30 in the morning tomorrow, and I know what you're going to say. But to me, I'm looking for a reason why. And he's really, really big on the amount of running. He's always, the GPS numbers are super high.
Mm-hmm.
Super high GPS numbers during a game, super high numbers. I wonder if the motion is a detriment to him in those GPS numbers.
So first of all, Brian, let me just say this. I don't hate you for trying to figure it out, because some nonsense is going on. Nonsense is going on, and we need to know what the hell it is. So I don't hate you for trying to figure it out. But just the thought that could be a real thing makes me sick.
I'm just trying to, it's the old Bob Seger song.
Turn the page.
No. Night Moves.
Yeah.
Working on mysteries without any clues.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
But
Brian,
Turn the Page is a good song.
That's almost like Mike McCarthy saying, oh, we don't run the ball because we got the helmet information and we've been banging our head in practice too much, so we don't want to run the football today. That's how that sounds to me, Brian.
My man talks about those GPS numbers a lot. He might be worried about his guys' amount of running they do during a game.
Then Mike McCarthy is quite silly, Brian Brothers. I think that's quite silly.
Put that away. Thank you very much. You'll never get you'll never get this 2 minutes and 30 seconds back in your life, Voch. Don't worry about that.
I just think and even if that's the case, Brian, we need to run some extra gases after practice or something.
And I want a damn apology from you when it comes out that he's like, well, these GPS numbers in motion. And
Brian,
I want an apology from you. October 1st, we said this.
Yeah.
I want an apology.
I'll be too busy cussing Mike McCarthy ass out to remember to apologize to you. What you mean? They run too much. Receivers.
Somebody's going to reach out. Somebody's going to reach out to me from the organization.
Like,
Call me out on that. But I was wondering, because the man talks about GPS. I wonder if he's worried about running his guys too much during a game.
Brian, that makes me so sick. I got a question for you, Brian, if you don't mind. I got it written down here on my Scantron. I got the Scantron
sheet.
Man, Brian Brothers, I'm just looking at what we doing here, man. I'm just trying to figure out my depth chart a little bit, man. I'm just looking at the offensive guys. Brian, is Hunter Lipke your second best running back? And should he be running back too?
He should be running back too.
He run a lot, Brian. His GPS numbers
are way up.
His hit through the roof. He run a lot, Brian. Would you consider Hunter Lipke running back 2 on this team? And should he get more carries, more opportunities?
How about this one? Voch says Hunter Lipke is your 4th best offensive player.
She might be 3rd, Brian. Bro, the way this thing going. The way this thing going, he might be 3rd.
Right now.
Rico's 3.
I'm talking about your overall, your best 11. Your best 11. Hunter Lipke is your 4th best offensive player. That includes linemen, receivers.
That's 4, 88, 73. And you think Hunter Lipke is the best running back?
I'm just asking you a question. Is Hunter Lipke top 4 offensive player for you right now?
I can't give him that if he only get 2 carries and a catch and a couple tackles on teams, bro. I can't give him that quite yet. But I do think he's earned.
Wait a minute, you just tried to make him the second running back just a second ago.
I think he's better, Brian Bryce. I think he's better than all them other cheering on the roster. I think he blocked better. I think he's better in the passing game than Ezekiel Elliott is right now. You know what I mean? And I think he'll probably run a little tougher.
I kind of agree with you, because when I think at times when the play's not blocked cleanly, how he's able to get yards. You know, like he finds a way to kind of knife through there and get 3 or 4 yards when it's even not blocked cleanly.
Yeah.
And I just, like I said, I was wondering if you thought he would be, because you got, like I say, CD, Dak, Smith. Who else you got?
473, 88. I mean, 70, I mean, not 70.
80, 87?
70 look old. 70 look old. I would say 87. 87 may be a little better than Lipke right now. But that's why I draw the damn line, bro. Hunter Lipke better than Tyler Guyton. He better than damn Terrence Steele. He better than Brandon Cooks. He better than Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Brooks. He better than them, bro.
Yeah. I don't think we're overrating Hunter Lipke right now.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. I think when you look at what he's been able to do, at least through 4 weeks of the season, I think you'd have to say that he seems like the one guy they actually have a plan for.
Sure.
Where everybody else is kind of just, it's kind of like
flopping around.
Let's draw names out of a hat and see what we got today,
Yeah.
But,
we are 31st in the league in average target separation. That means we're not getting away from DBs.
Dak is first in completions in tight window throws. He's first. See, this is where, and you wonder like, okay, you saw the play with Ferguson and Cooks, and you're like going, yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go. That kind of thing. But you're right. I mean, you watch CeeDee Lamb, you watch him get whacked on a slant, but there's no run after catch.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no run after catch.
And look, just to bring this all full circle, right? Mike McCarthy. If I had to ask him a question, Mike McCarthy. Do you think CeeDee Lamb will get more yak yards if you start doing what they're doing in Detroit and start doing all they're doing? All that? Are we a good football team, Brian? Are we a good football team? Like I know we got some All Pros, some Pro Bowlers, some Hall of Famers, but are we a good football team?
I think there's things. I don't think good football teams have as many penalties as they do. I don't. Maybe that's something too. Okay, how about round 2 of why we don't have motion? Do you think he's worried about pre-snap penalties?
Then that'll be his fault. That'll be his fault for not preparing them for
He says it
substitution
every
or
year.
procedure.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times that you and I watch him stand at the podium and goes, "We got to do better on the penalties. We got to do better on the penalties."
Yeah.
I wonder. Okay, please don't clip this, folks, because it's not. I'm not trying to say this is. Do you think he has a team that's not smart on offense? And I mean this is no disrespect. I'm not calling them dumb guys, but I'm saying
they can't handle a complex offense.
Do you think, yeah.
My only
really good players, but maybe the football intelligence and please, this is not I'm not slamming, but maybe he's like, I have a football team, I can't overload that way.
To be fair, Brian, and my only pushback, I'll give you pushback and I'll give you fairness. My pushback is that we're able to do this last year after week 7. So they can do it, but maybe you got a rookie center now and maybe that messes up the operation just a little bit. So I mean, fair there. But I still put that on the coaches for making sure that your guys are prepared and ready to go.
Yeah. There's something, and that's what's holding me back with this team. That's what's holding me back. I think if I knew I was maybe lacking some talent in some areas, I think the receivers are good enough. I really do.
Yeah.
I just don't see you. I don't see you doing stuff with them that gives them the chance to be game breakers. I don't see them. I can say CeeDee Lamb in college. One of the great things that coach did at Oklahoma, and I know it's been a while. CeeDee's gotten better every year.
Sure.
But man, it just put him on the move. Try and help him, run him through some trash, run him behind, bring him in motion, run him behind people, throw him out of bunch formations, do some things. You can't be 31st in tight window throws with these guys. No. Can't be. No. That's got to be on you, the coaching staff, for allowing it to happen. Mm-hmm. You can't tell me that they've played against some good defenses, but you can't tell me that every defense that they played have shut them down that drastically with making it tight window throws.
Yeah.
Can't. If we're going to cover the hook. Yeah, we'll cover the slant. We're going to cover the, you can't. Mm-hmm. That something is fundamentally wrong with that.
Well, Brian, if he doesn't change it, then we'll have a new head coach and offense coordinator and offensive play caller in no time. I just worry that coach will be 60, 70 years old. This is what it is. Well, this thing started off fun, Brian Bros, and then we kind of he made it a drag at the end, man.
I don't mean it to make it a drag, but I think
Mike McCarthy has this team in some deep ass doo doo, and he needs to do something. He needs to. Voch says this, Brian Bros. If I had to ask Mike McCarthy and go, "Hey, Mike McCarthy," just like Chris Arnold would say, right? Would you ever step down? Do you want to die on your shield? Yeah. Or would you step down to save your job?
You mean as a play caller?
As a play caller, right? Would he just hand the reins over and say, "Look, man, I want to keep my job. Somebody else do this." Would he be willing to do it, or does he want to go out on his own terms, on his 1 year contract?
His terms.
Well,
his terms. Because he believes, we're all that way. If our job's on the line, you always want to put the fate of your job in your own hands. And, and what'll happen is if it's not good enough, it continues to be the 31st offense when it comes to separation and they don't run the ball. That's all the evidence that the general manager needs to have.
I'm not like that, Brian Bros. If I'm calling plays and mine ain't working, I'm about to find me a Shanahan kid. We about to make this work and save my job, Brian Bros. I'm trying to buy a boat. I don't want to get fired.
Yeah. I'm trying to go to the lake. You know what? I asked Mark Schlereth today. We had him on 105.3 The Fan. And Mark has been he played for Joe Gibbs, Super Bowl team, the Commanders' last Super Bowl team in 91.
Yep.
He was on that team that ran counter Trey, that offense that, the way that They gave you a lot of different looks, but they ran it and they ran it and they ran it. It was the same play, but out of different looks.
Mm-hmm.
Mark did that offense. He also worked with the Shanahan group. And I asked him the question that I asked you about would you want to hire a Shanahan coach or a Shanahan stopper?
Mm-hmm.
And he thought about it for a bit. He says, damn, that's a good question. He goes, the reason I ask is because there's so many now Shanahan coaches and you're having to play these guys. Wouldn't you want the guy that could stop them all?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want that guy? And he says, that's a good point. He did though, but he said, there's things about this offense you can't stop. Even if you tell me that's the Shanahan stopper, there's things that you can do that can't stop this offense. And I thought, okay, that makes sense. So, the questions you have to ask yourself if this thing really goes south is, do you want to go that route? And you're thinking that Bill Belichick's going to show up at this place, is what you're thinking.
I definitely think the Joneses are going to hire some 70-year-old coach, and we're just going to be old again. Yeah. I don't see them leaning towards, man, Brian, I was watching college football, man. I was watching Tennessee, and they're out there with that kid.
Heupel.
Yeah. Oh, man, they got the quarterback, Nico, long last name, and they just tempo, spread, ball in space, easy buttons, yak. I'm like, man.
But then again, you know what they do when they get the lead? They
slow down and they run their football. They
slow down and they run it.
They run their football, man.
Yeah.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice to have something like that, Brian. But I think Minnesota's doing the right thing. I think Minnesota, they got a head coach that's an offensive dude.
Yeah.
He's doing a fantastic job with Sam Darnold and all those guys. And
that defensive dude, he leaves him alone.
Just leave the defensive dude alone. Don't even talk to him. Just let him run his defense. And and now you got the best of both worlds. You got your super offense dude. And look, shouts out to Schlereth, man. He know more ball than me. There are some things that, some things that you can't stop.
Yeah.
But if you can stop 80% of the playbook,
that's what I was kind of I was like, give me the Shanahan stopper.
Yeah.
Because if I have the Shanahan stopper, I'm going to beat a lot of these head coaches. Every week I'm playing a Shanahan dude.
Sure.
The way the league's going, I'm playing a Shanahan or a McVay dude every week.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's interesting. He was talking about the Commanders, and he was saying that he had the Commanders game against Arizona, and he was saying they'd visit with Cliff Kingsbury about that. And Cliff used to be so shotgun heavy, and now with this kid he plays under center more, and he realizes him and Anthony Lynn, who used to be the head coach with the Chargers, is on the staff. And Anthony Lynn knows the running game like really, really well. And Cliff told Mark Schlereth that he goes, I didn't know how to run the ball. He goes, that's a mistake I made. He goes, I didn't know how to run the ball when I was in Arizona. He goes, now I'm learning how to run the ball with this offense.
Yeah.
And I'm learning to run it. So he's playing more under center, and things like that. So it just shows you that sometimes these dudes get fired and they do kind of figure it out. Our coach says he goes into the barn and was like watching tape and and then he's laughing like, I fooled Jerry and them. That kind of thing. And then we're all going, oh yeah, we could tell. But it's these offenses are just evolving in the way, and these Shanahan, the way, the scheme, man, it's a thing of beauty. But you feel like you're stuck sometimes watching this group. I could say every game feels like you're fighting for yards, fighting, and nothing's coming, as you say, easy button. Nothing's coming easy button on you right there. Hopefully I don't know. I could say I'm interested to see, I'm interested to see how this thing all ends up. We're a long, long way away.
Yeah.
But let me tell you this: you lose to Pittsburgh, You lose to Detroit.
That's three. That's three in a
You
row.
take a bye and you lose to San Francisco, and that damn thing's 2-5.
Yeah.
Hold on to your rears. Hold on to your rear. Here we go. Yeah.
Jerry wouldn't be the type of guy to go get a coach from college though, right? Like it'll have to be some dude that's been in the league.
He hired Jimmy way back in the day,
yeah.
But I don't know if he would. Yeah, to me, I kind of felt like that guy out there at USC before he left to go to USC. After watching like CeeDee Lamb and watching him with Hurts and Baker Mayfield and all these quarterbacks, I mean, it seems like every transfer quarterback he ever got won a Heisman Trophy.
Sure.
I mean, just the way. But yeah, the most important question to me is like, if I'm hiring this coach, would be how do you help my quarterback?
Yeah.
Because I got him for the next 4 years. After this year, I got him for 4 more years. You got to help me. Tell me how you're going to do it. Who are your coaches? Who's your O-line coach? Who's your coordinator? I mean, are you going to call plays? I'm not interested in having drinks with Marvin Lewis and trying to figure things out. I'm interested in sitting down and like, okay, this guy does this guy does this guy does that. That's how I'm breaking this thing down to like everything. I'm not leaving anything for chance. I'm taking the guy that can make this thing really rock. Cause you got this, like say, you got this receiver, you got the quarterback, you got some of these offensive linemen for a while.
Yeah.
You're going to have to figure some things out that way.
Brian Bros, man, I hate to get us up out here on that note, man. But hey, it's a fantastic show. We did some good things here, sir. It was definitely gloomy. It was definitely gloomy, but I think the people need to hear. They need to hear that side of things, But
yeah, it's and it's things that need to be talked about. But and maybe they can turn some things around. But I don't know how you kind of are who you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
You really are until. Maybe, and I'm not, maybe the 10 days, but hey, things turned around for the offense after week 7 last year.
Week 7. Yep.
And maybe you need to have another one of those come to Jesus meetings,
2-5, here we come, because San Francisco and Detroit looking better than us. But anyway, hey, y'all, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Love y'all 2 pieces, all right? Voch Lombardi, VOCHLOMBARD. I'm talking a little bit now, but BRYN Broadus is the man that y'all follow on Twitter, all right? And y'all hold it down until next time. We love y'all 2 pieces. Crown.